It's time to hear it from Harlan. Utah Director of Athletics Mark Harlan takes you behind the scenes with the Utes, the Pac-12, and collegiate athletics. Now here's your host, Mike Lagesholt.
Welcome to the October 2020 edition of the Hear from Harlan podcast presented by Pepsi. I'm Mike Lagesholt. Coming up on today's show, we'll look ahead to the start of the 2021 athletics year. Football set to open against Arizona next Saturday, November 7th at Rice Eccles. Men's and women's basketball just around the corner in November. We'll have details on that. Also today, Utah announced a new deal to help student athletes tell their story and build their brand. Details coming from Mark on that, and we'll get to some of your questions as well. Well, Mark, you talk about social distancing. You and I are about 15 miles apart today. I'm working on my home office studio in the Murray-Taylorsville area. You're up around campus. It's been more of a crisis management center over the Burb for you guys the last 7 months, but great to talk to you.
Yeah, Mike, it's always great to talk to you too. Hope you're doing great.
Been an interesting and challenging summer, but some good things as well. I think everyone is enjoying some family time, but you know what? The best news, the words we've been waiting to say right since March or April is we're ready for some football. We're ready for some sports. And the best news is we are ready to do that next Saturday. Just your thoughts on how excited you are to get going with sports here in about a week.
Well, very excited, mostly for all the student athletes that have been working so hard and, you know, both physically and candidly, mentally, as this pandemic has played out. We've talked before, you know, everyone's going through this, whether you're competing at the University of Utah or, you know, wherever you might be in the Valley, going through all of this. But for our student athletes here, they've rode all these waves, and now, you know, we're seeing, they're seeing this opportunity back again, which is to compete. And football will lead the way with the first game. Obviously, a week from Saturday as we tape this, and we've got other sports. We got the basketball programs coming right behind them a few weeks later. They got swimming. We're getting ready to crank up along with skiing, and we're just excited because they've worked so hard. The coaches have worked so hard, and you know what they do is compete. And so to get to that point once again is something we've all been waiting for, and can't wait for it to get started.
You know, a lot, Mark, has happened since our last show back on September 9th. The Pac-12 at that point said everything's off until at least January 1, but then the rapid daily testing program was brought on board on every campus in the conference. And now we have a 7-game Pac-12 football schedule running through December 18th and 19th. Everyone will play that last weekend, whether you are in a championship game or just playing another game. But there's been so much that's happened the last couple of months. Mark, if you can kind of walk us through this process that you've been involved in with the ADs around the league, the conference folks, the medical folks, what have been some key factors in getting us back to competition as quickly as we are?
Well, I think the key thing, as you said, was the testing availability. You know, Commissioner Scott said it best. It was the game changer for our conference. It gave the confidence to our medical advisory board, and as such, our presidents and chancellors to move forward in a safe way for high contact sports, to be able to, you know, test daily along with the weekly PCR test, to be able to, you know, compete and practice without contributing to the spread of the virus. We know it doesn't prevent you from getting the virus. We're all very aware of that, but it allows us to know quickly if we're going to have a breakout, and then to be able to manage any young person that happens to get the virus. So, you know, we have now been in this daily testing mode. I believe this is week 3. We are very pleased with how everyone has worked so hard to give our student athletes the best platform, to test in the morning, to hear if they're clear to go out to practice. You know, we just do that every day. We'll talk to Samson Nakua a little bit about that experience. And, you know, it's just working, Mike. It's the best thing I can say. You know, it's allowing our students to practice at the level you need to in this conference to compete at the highest level. And it's keeping people safe. Great collaboration, obviously, across the conference to get us to that point. I understand we're one of the last to start, but I like to say, we're the last to start because we wanted to do it the very best way. You know, we can all argue that maybe a week or two earlier would have been better, and I understand that mindset. But at the end of it all, this is the best way for us to go. And we also know we're going to be very cognizant that changes will happen. A game that's scheduled may not happen, and we hope that that's not the case, but we're going to continue to rely on our medical advisory board to help us with all of that as we go through it. But Mike, we're really excited. We got the Wildcats coming in here, the Pac-12 South Division foe to lead off the season. And our kids can't wait to get ready to play.
Yeah, it should be a lot of fun and just kind of a return to normalcy for fans. I mean, I've enjoyed watching the NBA and the MLB playoffs, the NFL. I mean, it's not the same without fans in the stands at places or limited crowds, but just sort of this idea I can turn on the television and watch the Utes play or be at the game to work it next Saturday. It just sort of helps you get back to that sense of normalcy we've all been looking for. Visiting with Mark Carlin on the Here from Harlan podcast presented by Pepsi. You know, Mark, you talked about the rapid testing program. I want to share a little bit behind the scenes. Every Tuesday, our staff has a Zoom meeting, or not every Tuesday, but every other week at least. Sometimes it's every week. But this past Tuesday, we had a staff member who was working as part of the testing crew in the varsity club room. And as you know, Mark, that's a room where we have meetings a lot. It's a fun place. We have a good breakfast there and get a lot done. But that room has been transferred over to our testing lab. There was plastic on the floor. They were wearing gloves and masks and a very different look. And you pointed out just how powerful of an image it was to watch on video our staff, a lot of them volunteers, taking care of our testing program so our athletes could practice and eventually play games. And you just said, you know what, look at our people getting it done. We're in the pandemic, and yet we're moving forward. I thought it was a cool moment. Just your thoughts on how hard your staff has worked to make all this happen so we could have a football game next Saturday.
Well, it's been amazing, Mike. You know, it starts obviously with everyone understanding that we were going to have to do everything we could, whatever our role might be in the organization, to get our student athletes back safely and get them going, you know, academically, competitively. And it didn't matter your role. You had to step up, and so many of our folks had. In the meantime, you know, the idea that the organization has gone through, you know, a department-wide furlough program, you know, people understood. They understood the situation. They were cooperative. We were able to space it out so that our students weren't affected by it. But on top of all of that, as you said, we've also had folks really step up with our medical staff, get trained to help us with our testing program. And yeah, that image was powerful. I think all our staff that hadn't been in that room to see that, it was a moment, because I think it really, you know, really drove home what folks are doing to allow us to get to that point where we can play games next week and do it in such a safe way. So yeah, it's been an incredible effort by so many people, and we all know that we're going to even need more, you know, as we begin this next phase of competition. But I have no doubts that the staff can continue to do what they've been doing. We're working with our students and coaches and, you know, emerging from all this the very best version of ourselves.
Well, you and the staff have done a great job being transparent and keeping us all together. It's been a challenge. Everyone's been scattered, and people are now coming back to work. But, you know, I was with you to see those guys and women working in that room that has been a place of happiness for the last couple of years, to see the work going on there. To me, I'm like, that's just so Utah. You know, there's people in there who work in the business office, and they came in and worked anyway, and they were just finding a way to get it done and help us get through. And I thought it was so neat that you acknowledged them and just kind of pointed that out, because it was, to me, a pretty powerful moment from this time we're living in right now. Well, Mark, as we mentioned, the best news is we've got football next week, and we're going to have some cutouts in the stands. In fact, we have 336 season ticket accounts, Mark, that contributed their 2020 ticket funds to the Crimson Club for a tax-deductible donation. We'll have cutouts representing them in the stands, also some head coaches, yourself, some other prominent people. So unfortunately, we can't have every fan take part, but still, Mark, it will be cool to recognize some people who gave some money to our department to help keep things going for us this fall.
Well, you know, as great as it was to get the announcement that, you know, we're going to be able to get back to competition, it was also in some ways devastating about the announcement with fans, fully understanding the why. Don't get me wrong. I understand, you know, the priority is to get these games off for the students and to be safe and have all our staff focusing on that. But, you know, when you think of Rice Eccles and how the fan base has literally, with data-driven proof, helped us to win football games. I was just watching a replay game the other night from a game from last year, watching the opposing team just jump off sides because you can't even hear, you know.
Yep.
And to not have them there is a real, you know, I don't have a better word except to say bummer. And I know it's a bummer for a lot of our fans, and just, you know, it's been a wild ride for everybody, but our fans too. So we're going to miss them tremendously. Our guys will miss them. I talked to our team about it. I certainly talked to Whit about it. We were at the scrimmage afterwards. Whit and I were just talking about how weird it's going to be. You know, the scrimmage that we just had will look like the football game, you know?
Yeah.
But, you know, we know they'll be there soon, and we know everyone will be watching. I can imagine the ratings in the greater Salt Lake area will be something else. You mentioned the cutouts. We really thought a neat way to do that. We appreciate everybody that has done so much, and we gave people options this year, and whether to roll forward, to get a refund, or donate. And we just thought the folks that donated, we just thought that was an extra special thing that they did, and we wanted to honor them in the stadium. And we've been working with those families to put their cutouts in there, along with some other great donors. You mentioned me in there. I got to make sure my thing isn't on there. I don't deserve to be in there, but we just thought that was a nice way to celebrate those incredible people. And we didn't sell those. We made a decision not to sell those. I didn't feel like that was something that we needed to do. I think people have done so much for us, and we thought we'd go that direction, but. Next week, closer to the game, we'll be releasing some other information about the game, some other stuff that are going on. I am happy to let you know, because we just got this secured yesterday, that we will be able to follow the allowance of the Pac-12 to have the kids that dress out. So the kids that are dressed out and on the sideline on the football team, that they'll be able to have 4 tickets to be able to have family or friends go to that game. And that'll, obviously mean a group of people less than 400, in there. We hope to be able to get like families of the coaches in there at the following game. And of course our opponents to have their family in there as we move forward. But, it's a nice, that the county allowed that to do it. The university was able to do that. I think it's just important for the families of our students that have worked so hard to have that opportunity. So more to come next week about the other things that we're doing and other things going on. But we know people will be watching, and we can't wait to see them all again.
Yep, and we feel for the fans. This wasn't a Utah Athletics decision or a campus decision or a local health decision. The Pac-12 mandated no fans allowed at games other than some family members, and as you mentioned, the players who dress can get 4 family and friends into the game to just be supported. But for everyone else, we feel for you. Get together in small groups. We don't want to have big parties, but with your family and watch the game and enjoy that. Then we'll have some stuff rolling out on social
Mike,
media.
Mike, I want to interject there. I think that's a really important point that you made. We know our community right now is dealing with a spike in the virus, and
right.
We're all hoping if we continue to do the right things that we can have that spike go down, and we're seeing some high schools shut down and all those other things. And as Utah football gets going, I do urge people to do the smart thing and, don't get in big groups and watch the game. And if you do, wear your mask. I mean, it's just so important all of us in this community come together. I think, I've come to the conclusion that's really the only way we're going to get through this is if we just work together as one big team in our community. So, I just would urge people to be really smart, as I know our folks can be, as they watch the Utes next week. And, let's just all celebrate a great victory.
There you go. Well said. So get your TVs outside if you can. Get those big heaters on your patio and enjoy it outside if you can. And again, we feel for the fans. Wish we could have you there with us next Saturday, but at least we can watch the games on TV. So we'll have more details from Athletics and the Alumni Association next week on some virtual events we have in the works and some social media things. So again, check out more details on that next week. Mark, you've had an interesting time to be on the Division I Football Oversight Committee. Lots of things around the country. As we talked about the testing program, there's been issues with games being canceled and outbreaks and just a lot of details and challenges to deal with this year on the football front. Any news you can share with this group listing from your work on the committee that would be of interest?
Well, your point is right. It's been a very active time. I got on this committee a little bit before the pandemic and had the scouting report of what the committee really dealt with. I replaced Ray Anderson, the great athletic director at Arizona State, and then all of a sudden COVID happened, right? And so the group has been meeting with certainly more frequency. We really meet every week on Thursday, and we go through all the issues. And, I think overall, as we look at all the data, we're pleased that a lot of games have been able to be played. We're also equally pleased in a strange way of the games that have been played, because that means schools are adhering to protocols and they're doing the right thing for the students, which is what it needs to always be about. So, by and by, I think things are rolling. Things come up. Some of you may have seen some of the requests from head coaches that maybe get the virus and have to sit. Is there something that they can do from home? That stuff gets to our committee, and we felt that wasn't something that needed to happen. There's other folks that can maintain that role for that one game, but that's fine. Schools need to talk and ask about that. I think COVID, you need to look at everything. So those things come up as you meet weekly. Certainly the big thing right now is, non-COVID related is just the transfer rule. And we can expect in January to have, transfers now available to any sport. Right now they've been restricted in having to sit out in 1 year. Of course, football and basketball are the highlight of those sports. So that'll change in January. So we're just looking at that about when, the timing of when a young man, in the case of football, should notify the institution. So in essence, if you come to college, you'll have an opportunity to transfer one time during your career, and wherever you go, you won't be blocked by the institution, and you'll be able to play immediately at that school. So we're just looking at all those things. And of course, lastly, just recruiting. We've been in a dead period, as we refer to it. No prospects allowed on campus for all sports. Trying to figure out when that can be relooked at in terms of having students to be able to come back and visit with coaches as they typically would. I hear in the community, I run into people that this has been really traumatic for parents that have student athletes, that believe have college aspirations, and it's been really hard for them as we've gone through this dead period, which started in March, and here it is almost November. So all of those things lie ahead as we try to turn the machine back on, so to speak, in college sports in the safest possible way. But there's a lot more work to do, I can assure you of that.
Well, I think it's been nice to see that institutions and conferences and the NCAA have been so responsive to the current situation and student athletes and recruitment and their experience on campus through sports and through academics. They've been very flexible with some things that have been changed rather quickly. It's been nice to see everyone's just doing the best they can. It's challenging for all of us, but I think the administrators in college athletics have done a great job, especially under the circumstances. Mark, talking about other sports, we've had our focus on football, as we should, with the opener coming up on November 7th, but men's and women's basketball just around the corner. They can begin competition on Wednesday, November 25th. It looks like a 27-game schedule for the men, 25 for the women. Any updates, Mark, on when the schedules will come out and how those schedules will look as we head into the month of November?
Yeah, some final work being done on both men's and women's basketball schedules. The first shoe that had to drop for both of those enterprises was how many conference games. And you said it right, 20 games for the men and 22 for the women. That's a pretty big jump for the women, who are used to 18. We were heading toward a 20-game schedule for the men regardless. Once that got all decided and looked at, for the case of the men, that left about 7 non-conference games, a little bit less for the women. And, I'll be very candid with you, Mike. It's been, it's a challenge to lock in all these non-conference games. There's very strict rules about testing protocols, as there should be. They need to match the Pac-12 protocols. Some teams can travel this far, some can't. So both programs are just doing a great job of having a lot of conversations, trying to lock up that non-conference schedule. So it's still in flux, as crazy as that sounds, because I know things are coming at us pretty fast. But, it'll get done just at a different timing than we're all used to. And then in terms of the league schedules, I anticipate maybe as early by the end of this week, we'll have some announcements from the Pac-12 regarding the league opponents and the week that they'll be coming in. So it's going to come down to the wire, but this is COVID, right? And we have to be flexible and all that. But excited about both programs. Had a chance to go to practice a little bit last week on both sides of the Huntsman practice facility, and a lot of excitement there. Just like the football, they're testing daily. They test in the morning. They kind of keep to themselves until they get the green light, and they go into the gym and get after it. And really pleased with what I'm seeing, and just feel blessed on both those gyms to have coaches that are veteran. I've been here for a while, and although none of us can say we've managed anything through a pandemic, it's just about seeing everything else. And so they've been great to work with, and I'm really excited to watch them play here at the end of November, which will be here before we know it.
Yeah, that'll be a lot of fun to get the basketball teams back in action. Visiting with Mark Harlan on the Here from Harlan podcast presented by Pepsi. Well, Mark, we've had good timing with this show. A big announcement today by Utah Athletics. They've partnered with Influencer to help student athletes at Utah populate their personal social media accounts, tell their story, build their audience, promote their brand. We've had a lot of talk about name, image, and likeness the last year or so. This will certainly help athletes with their own endeavors. Just your thoughts on this major announcement with Influencer and Utah Athletics.
Yeah, very excited to do what we pledged to our student athletes that we would do here at the University of Utah, which is put them in the very best position to maximize, whatever opportunity may come with the expected change of legislation in the NCAA this spring. And, the ability to, monetize off of their name, image, and likeness has been debated for years, but the opportunity is forthcoming. And we didn't want to sit and wait for the day to say go. We wanted to be prepared for that. So the external team, led by Scott Cole and many others, working in collaboration with our coaches, we wanted to go out and get the very best firm because we knew candidly we need help with this. It's something that we figured that to partner with somebody to help our students in their brand development would be the wisest thing to do. So yes, today we announced the influencer relationship. I believe one of the premier companies in this space. And, in the simplest of way, it allows the students to work with the latest technology and also to be educated as such, to be able to make sure they can always have pictures of themselves and videos of themselves competing and being able to make sure that we can work with a company to really see the flow of how our students will work in this space. It's going to be new territory for us. But the way I look at it is take away the monetary piece and all of that. It's also part of the educational process for any student, as they mature and as they learn, which is obviously what they're doing while they're in college, just to learn how you can maximize the opportunity that you have earned. And I want us to be a place that allows students to do that. So when they know they're going to come to a program, they're not only going to compete at the highest level and learn at the highest level, but also participate in something that's exciting like this. We've got great experience with our gymnastics program and the work that Greg Marsden did through the decades to really take a program and maximize every part of it, right? So gymnastics has really shown this. We've seen great steps in football with incredible employees down there that have taken this, and now collectively across all our teams to be able to do this. Lastly, I'll say in this, and it all ties together, to watch our students this summer and social injustice and how they responded to this, and in some cases how they led in this, and the formation of our Utah group. It's just a reminder to me the incredible minds that we have here, well beyond anything that they do competitively, and they are special people, and I want to tell the story about them, and I just think this is an opportunity to really just tell their story, and we're excited to be able to provide them this platform today. So really, really honored that Influencer chose to partner with us, and we'll march forward.
Yeah, Mark, you talk about Generation Z, this group of college students. They're so media savvy, so engaged. Their level of self-awareness is so high. You mentioned the causes they've been invested in and really engaged in this spring and summer, and this deal with Influencer just really gives them some more assets, some more tools to help really build their brand and transition into the workforce, whether they're in sports or something else. This would be a great deal.
You just said it. You just said it. You just said something that's really important there, right? It's some people may see this as this money piece of it and the chance to get sponsorship, but it is so much bigger than that. It's about what you just said. It's about how are you going to leave here and be a contributing member in society and get that job, if you're not going to go on and play your sport after college. And I just think the way that you manage your brand is so important. It's employers that are looking at all of that, right? I mean, heck, we look at it with high school recruits, and it's some people go negative. Well, you don't want anything bad on your social media. Well, that's true, and of course, obvious. But what if the way you did was spectacular, right? And the way that you presented yourself and your platform and your concepts and your ideas and improve, quote unquote, your brand for your employer, right? So it's just important as we talk about this space, because the headlines are going to be this player getting that money from this company. Okay. And that'll happen, but we got close to 600 kids here. And that's going to be a few that gets that kind of thing, but the broad base of them can use this new interpretation of our rules and use this partnership to really advance themselves. And I'm just really, really excited about it.
Yeah, it should be fun. Mark, in a previous life, I worked with teams as an SID, and I always talked to our athletes before the season and said, you're asking, why should you do interviews? And I'm like, it's a chance for you to market yourself. If you don't play next level, you know what? There's someone out there with this company or that company in Utah or now globally watching what's going on. You've got a chance to put yourself out there, represent yourself well in terms of how you speak and present yourself. And this deal with Influencer just takes that to the next level.
Yeah, no, I'm excited about it, Mike. I have to laugh as we're taping this. The league just released the men's basketball schedule. So live is the breaking news. I think the women's schedule should be not too far behind. So I'm sure that by the time people listen to this, they'll see the pairings and when we'll be playing in the league. So again, another step forward to returning to play.
Very good. We're recording this on October 29th, so check out UtahEast.com and all of our social channels for more on the newly released basketball schedule. All right, Mark, let's continue with the show. I know you've got a good interview coming up with Samson Nacua, one of the top receivers in this year's team. Also later on, your questions and an update on the Ken Garff Performance Zone. That all straight ahead on the Here from Harlan podcast.
Time now for Utah's head man to catch up with one of Utah's star student athletes. Once again, here's Utah Athletics Director Mark Harlan on the Hear It From Harlan podcast.
Well, as always, the best part of this podcast is when we have a chance to talk to one of our student athletes and hear how they are doing, and especially right now with everything that's going on. And we're really honored today to have one of the leaders of our football team, the pride of Tempe High School, Samson Nacua, joining us today. Samson, how you doing, man?
I'm doing good. It's a beautiful day today, waking up, enjoying the sun a little bit, and cleaning the house up.
Getting some chores done before things get crazy. As we talk, I think we're 9 days out of the home opener against Arizona. It's amazing to think that day is coming, but it'd be really interesting for folks listening to kind of hear from you the journey that you've been on. I mean, the last time a lot of our folks actually saw you, I should say, was at the Alamo Bowl. And of course you had an injury there. So maybe just get folks up to speed on how you're doing.
I'm doing good, honestly. COVID has happened around the world, and it's been giving us a little time off. So I've been enjoying the time off with my family a little bit, and trying to just re-heal my body, and just taking the time that I need to be prepared for the game coming up, honestly. And I'm feeling good right now.
So physically, obviously you had to get through that injury, and as you mentioned, COVID. When it all went down and spring ball was obviously canceled, you going into your final year of eligibility, you graduated in May in sociology, which is just fantastic accomplishment. Yes, I had to imagine there was times there where you thought, am I even going to get to play the senior year? I imagine there was a lot of emotions. So talk to me how you managed through all of that.
I was a bit scared for sure of losing my senior year, but I honestly looked at it almost as a blessing in disguise. God, it's all part of God's plan in my eyes, whether it was to give me the senior year or not. It gave me time to spend more time with my family, honestly, the time that I don't get to have because I'm always busy with football. I got to spend a little more time with my family at home. I got to re-heal my body, retrain my mind, and I think it was just wonderful. I was scared, but in all God's plan, it came back around that we did have a season, and I'm just thankful for it all, and I'm just prepared to go.
Yeah, that's really well said. So, again, going back a little bit, we finally got the league and all of us working together to get you guys back out in practice. And I'll never forget when I was able to talk to Leadership Council and let them know that, hey, we can do this. We have the daily testing. And then you guys kind of have been on the sprint since then. So talk a little bit about, what the last few weeks have been since you've been able to really get back into contact. I think it would be interesting to hear what you as a player have to go through every morning just to be able, and the team, you and the team every morning, just to be able to go out there and practice the testing protocols and all the stuff you guys have to go through.
Yeah, we're waking up really early to get testing done every day by our trainers and them taking care of us. But we're waking up early every day, getting a test done. There's someone at least always coming in with a false positive. And it's a little hard because when we get one man down with a false positive, he does have to sit out for the day until the next test comes in. And so losing a man like that, usually when man goes down, it puts more stress out onto the next body that has to come and replace him. So it's been hard, but the team has been grinding really, really hard to prepare ourselves because it was on short notice coming back for season. So everyone's just trying to fight their way through it. Taking care of the bodies extra this year because we don't know what starter might go down and what next man has to show up. So everyone's in their playbooks, just preparing themselves for any worst case scenario. And I think our trainers are doing a great job and our coaches are doing a great job of keeping us safe out there. And we're just trying to make it work, and we're just preparing ourselves for season, and it's been good, honestly. We're just making it work.
Yeah, well, you guys really are. And you referred to the false positives, at the daily antigen tests, which are the quick turnaround tests, when there is a false positive, that young man has to take another test, the PCR test. So, that young man has to sit out for at least 24 hours until we get the results. And we've been fortunate to have those PCR tests confirm that those young men, your teammates, are ready to go. But what that really speaks of is the flexibility, that you guys have all had to go through, and along with everyone else dealing with COVID. But as the season comes, and here we go, right? ESPN coming on here a week from Saturday. We got Arizona coming to town. You guys have to prepare like you always do, right? To at a high level college football game. But in the back of your mind, you still have to also be open to whatever may come, flexibility, guys coming and guys going. And you guys feel like you yourself and the team is ready to manage all of that.
Oh, yeah, we're always ready. Coach Whittingham prepares a team with the new incoming freshman. You can't be a freshman no more. You don't have time to be a freshman because the starter in front of you could, how we said, get a false positive and be out on game day. And we won't know until after the game probably. So the freshmen have to really step up and knowing their playbooks and being able to replace them. So it's next man up always. And always Coach Way is preaching that and just having everyone be prepared that for worst case scenario that the starter might miss out, that freshman's got to be ready to come in and step up because we expect everyone on the team, whether you're 1, 2, or 3, to come in and play play to the best of their abilities. So everyone's just got to be ready for what's going to come.
Yeah, that's terrific. And that's like we said, that's life right now, right? I mean, everyone's learning to be resilient and manage through it. Well, let's talk a little bit of ball before we close. This is the second year under Coach Ludwig. He and I have become really good friends since he returned to Salt Lake. He's just a great man. Obviously now you've had a chance to be in his system. You'll definitely have some different personnel, and we know that. But I imagine that with his system and your guys' comfortability to it and some of the talent around you got to feel pretty confident on the offensive side of the ball this year.
Oh, I'm always feeling confident myself, at least. I know Coach Gillette is very confident in his offense. We did lose major players last year, but our coach always preaches it's next man up. We can't sit and feel sorry for ourselves because we lost a couple of guys. It's the next guy got to come in and step up and be prepared to ball out and help lead the team and help the team at all times. And I'm just excited. The offense is looking really good. We're refining it, making it better, cleaning up some stuff. And what we've been doing this whole fall camp and preparation for this game has just been unreal. And I think everyone's just ready, tired of practice and ready to play.
Yeah, you guys seem like you'd be ready to go this afternoon if we could. Yeah. But getting back to COVID for just a second and just academics and all that. Here's a tough question for you, right? You got a lot of Zoom classes like everyone's experiencing, but those folks out there that follow you in social media, you're not shy about Pumbaa, who I believe is your hound, your man's best friend, your dog. Does Pumbaa sit with you during these classes, try to get a little knowledge from you as you go through that?
He is exactly like me. It's hard to get him sit down sometimes because he's got all the energy in the world, just like me. He's always want to making moves and trying to go meet new people. But when I do get him to sit down, he's all about learning. He's trying to learn new things all the time, and that's what I love about him.
Pumbaa's racking up the credit hours.
Exactly. He helped me out a little bit.
Your energy is infectious to this team. It's infectious to our fans. My son just loves being around you. You can tell that you've taken this opportunity and you really made the most of it. Last night I was watching some Pac-12 Network and they were rerunning the Oregon State game from last year and got to that 4th down play. The play I'm talking about.
Oh yeah.
And that separation you had and that touchdown, and it was just a neat moment. Austin and I were watching it together and watching you celebrate after. And I think that's what we're all looking forward to, have you guys out on the field next week and just celebrate, have fun. But really appreciate you. Appreciate everything you bring. Get after it, man. I look forward to seeing you soon.
Oh, thank you so much. And tell Big Austin I said hi and have a good one, man.
All right. You too, buddy. Be good. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
And welcome back to the Here from Harlan podcast presented by Pepsi. So glad to be joined by Utah AD Mark Harlan during a challenging fall, but good news is football just a week away, November 7th. Also, the men's and women's basketball schedules coming out today, so check out all of our social channels for more on that. But Mark, going back to your conversation with Samson Nacua, I think it's so cool when you get a chance to interact with athletes, and it sounds like you and your son Austin have done that and gotten to know Samson a bit. Just a quality guy. And what is it about these Provo kids coming up? I mean, you got Brenton Covey and now Samson, and they are great receivers. Glad to have them come up from Utah County and change from blue to red.
He's a great young man. He's just always in a good mood. He's always smiling, and proud that he graduated last May. Again, kept focused like so many of our students did, and despite in his case spring ball just stopping and your rhythm getting out of whack, he focused on graduation, which he did, and just an awesome kid. I love the way he talked about the path and how religion affects his thinking of things, and how it's allowed him to understand that, hey, things happen. And so he's just such a great young man, and of course indicative of so many great kids on that football team.
His dog Pumbaa, I wish this were a video podcast. We'd get his dog on. I think we need to meet him almost as much as Samson. But, his comments were so spot on. This whole idea that athletes can miss playing time this fall because of COVID or a false positive. You have to sit out, and just this idea that everyone on the team, Mark, has to be prepared in terms of knowing the game plan, being ready to play, because you just don't know within 24 hours what can happen to your teammates.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, the one thing about student athletes is that they're used to the person on, her or his right, competing in whatever sport they might be, not being there, right? Injuries happen, things happen. And so, I think that is a transferable skill as we head into the unknown here. I think that the idea that we might not have a clean football season is certainly something that their eyes are wide open to. We all saw in the Big Ten yesterday with the Wisconsin-Nebraska game. And so we're all hoping for the best and doing everything we can do. They know that they can help themselves, and of course the students across our conference, by just being as smart as they can always, but particularly now when we're heading into this competitive season. But I'm excited for Samson, and I'm certainly excited for this team to get it going.
Yep, should be a lot of fun. Again, Utah against Arizona on November 7th, 2 p.m. You can watch the game on ESPNU. I've had some people reach out and say, hey, what about the rest of the schedule? The Friday games have all been set. Everything else will be the normal 6 to 12-day windows according to the TV networks. That's how we'll play out the rest of the fall with the football schedule. All right, Mark, some fan questions coming in. We'll get to a couple of these. We appreciate everyone reaching out to us on Twitter. The first one, Mark, asking, can we retire some football jersey numbers like Alex Smith and Zach Moss? Hey, great idea. We've had that internally as well about doing that. Any updates you can share with our fans at this point?
Yeah, the team was really I say a collection of folks that really look into these matters. Similar to our Hall of Fame committee does, really looking at, how can we, in the case of football specifically, really start honoring more individuals in a more public way. And I've told them that I'm very open to that. I think that we've had some unbelievable individuals here that deserve that recognition. But candidly, with COVID and everything else, the ability for us to launch that this year didn't make a lot of sense for all the reasons that we've discussed in this podcast. But, I imagine that that's something we're going to get to sooner than later, because there's just too many deserving people, that have competed here and then even gone on and competed even at the highest of levels. So I would say more to come on that for sure.
One more question, Mark. If season ticket holders requested a refund for their tickets this season, does that impact their status for next year, and do they lose their seats moving forward? No, I feel like we've messaged this pretty strongly, but I appreciate the question in case we haven't gotten into all quarters. We made it very clear, of the three options, either donate back, and we're really honored that a lot of folks did that, roll it forward to the 21 season. We had a tremendous amount of people do that. And then lastly, refund. And we have full respect for that. And we certainly had some people do that. And refund has no bearing on your seat in Rice-Eccles Stadium when we're able to get going again with fans. So, the good news for the University of Utah, not surprising with the way our fan base are, is we saw very little people say, I'm done, right? We saw very little people say, hey, for whatever reason, I'm moving on. You always every year have some, right? When you're in the ticket business, but no status effect at all. Really appreciate everybody that let us know what they wanted to do, and
we look forward to seeing everybody as soon as we can.
Absolutely. Again, we feel for you fans. Wish we could have you there with us next Saturday, but the Pac-12, again, mandated no fans in attendance, but hope to get you back out there next fall to be with us in 2021 in the new digs, Mark. And I'll transition to our last topic, the Ken Garff Performance Zone. There's been a positive of this fall is the demolition of the Spence Clark building was moved up, and they've been able to get vertical now with the new structure, the Ken Garff Performance Zone in the south end zone that will attach the east and west side, and it's going to be a great facility. Any updates you can share with us at this point on that project?
Well, I tell you, it's been exciting the last couple of weeks. You know, with any of these projects I've been involved with, when you get to the steel phase, things start happening really quick from a visual standpoint. You know, there's always a lot of stuff going on underground, but it's been unbelievable. I think I went away from looking at it for about a week, and then I went to the scrimmage last Saturday, and I thought, oh my goodness, look at that steel. It's just going up, and it brings a reality to everything. So doing really well on the project. You know, Layton Construction and others really have done a great job. You know, we had some benefit, right, that we were able to tear down the south portion of the Clark building, as you mentioned. That moved up our time frame to be able to do that. And I know we get a lot of questions. I don't know if they came in for the podcast. We're fine. We've got locker room situations for our team. Our team will dress in Eccles. We'll bus them over about 50 minutes or so before the game, and then they'll do the rest of their warm-up in there. And then our visitor teams will use a space that we've got underneath on the northeast side. So we're fine. We're good. And we get a lot of people asking questions about that. So, hey, we're very excited. The actual seats themselves have been moving really, really fast. We're heading into the last portion of the seating area, which is that top area, what we call the rooftop terrace seats. We're about ready to get into that, along with working with everybody else in the South that didn't want a premium product, but rather go back to some of the bench seating that we're also re-putting back up there. So feel like we're in a great spot. Looking forward to coming back to the stadium and having that all done. And gosh, it'll be here before we know it.
Sure will be. Time is flying by, and it was so much fun this week to go onto our website and see some pictures of the structure that's been coming out of the ground there in a very quick manner. So as you mentioned, kind of surprising how quickly it's come, but that's exciting stuff. Again, the Ken Garff Performance Zone moving along, and check out our website as well. There's a tab at the top of UtahEats.com if you're interested in some of the luxury seating areas or regular bench seats, or who can help you out. So check out the details there. Well, Mark, exciting times. We are finally ready to play some football next Saturday. Looking forward to it, and we appreciate your time as always.
Mike, appreciate you as well, and just want to thank again all our fans for their patience, for their perseverance, and as always for their support. We're not at this place less than 2 weeks before we start up football without all of them, and again, we're always so grateful, but especially so now, because the ability for us to take care of our athletes in even a more profound manner has been because of the great support that our fans and donors have always stepped up for us in that way. So thank you very much, and everyone stay safe.
You as well, Mark. We'll see you at the stadium next weekend.
Thanks, Mike.
All right, take care. That's Mark Harlan. Thanks to Samson Nakua, our senior wide receiver, for joining us. Also, thanks to Mike Gilliland for his technical assistance. That will do it for us. For Mark Harlan, I'm Mike Lagershall. Thanks for joining us. Until next time, so long, everybody.
This has been the Hear It From Harlan podcast. Subscribe and listen all year long as we keep you up to date on Utah athletics.